It was necessary to launch the Altogether Different programme because if you look at where we'd come from in policing, we're very traditional, or seen as a very traditional service. If we kept doing what we'd always done, we were going to get what we always got. And with austerity measures and being cut 20 to 25%, all we were going to be doing was asking a very much smaller number of people to do the same work, and it was just not possible. We had to do something different. When we looked at the austerity measures, when the Chancellor first announced the cuts of 20%, we'd actually modelled for 15. We were one of the sort of forces who thought it might have been about 15%. So 20% did take us by surprise, but we already knew pretty much what we wanted to achieve. And we wanted to change the paradigm of the organisation. We wanted to change the culture. We wanted to change from a very traditional, safe, public sector, you're here, jobs for life, you're here because of your career, to a much more flexible, dynamic, smaller, fleet-of-foot organisation that could reflect what the organisation wanted, but could be entrepreneurial in the way that they grabbed other organisation to work with us to create safe communities. So when you look at it, if we did the redundancy programme early, so we accumulated capital, and we felt that £100,000 capital to show to our supervisors who were left that we were investing in them. We knew that their job was going to be harder and different. We were going to invest £100,000 into their development. And we actually chose £100,000 because it was a round figure and we could actually tell our staff that's exactly what we were doing, investing in them. Altogether Different's only been running 11 months, and even in that short space of time, the difference in the organisation is tangible. And you only have to ask the participants. Here we are, at time of mid-austerity, we've released lots of people from the organisation, and we are facing more challenging times. Crime's down, antisocial behaviour's down, satisfaction is up significantly, customer satisfaction, confidence of communities is going up, the number of people we arrest is going up, our conviction rate, that's to say the quality of the files and whether or not we secure convictions at court, is going up. We're being really creative and innovative in the way that we look at young people, rather than labelling them as criminal, but working with them in really imaginative ways so that they don't see themselves as criminal, and their recidivism rates, the rate of reconviction, is fantastically reduced. It's off the scale. So how's that all achieved? Well, that's all achieved because a critical mass of the people who were involved in this development opportunity have sat down with somebody, and it was the one-to-ones that were really, really key to this. So it was the 360-degree feedback. For the first time, some people in leadership roles had got honest, anonymous feedback about the impact they were having on the people they led. So that was hugely therapeutic. But it was only therapeutic because we sat it with a coaching session, a one-to-one session of somebody who was completely objective and independent to interpret what they were hearing. Because I think sometimes when people see that 360-degree feedback and it's raw, people don't see the positives, they don't work out and analyse what's really being said there. And that was hugely impactful. There's one or two people that I can just bring to mind just now who I can see them operating hugely differently. And it's not so that people think, oh my goodness me, they're different people. They are still the same people, they're still their authentic selves, but they are utterly different as leaders. And they're having a fantastic impact on the people they work with. Just look at the action learning sets. I mean, it was amusing actually. Action learning set. When we first started with the action learning sets, everybody saw it as, oh, action learning sets. So people were doing lots of things. And then when they started feeding back to the Force Executive, we said, and what have you learned? And they looked as if to say, well, that's an unfair question. And we pointed out to the L bit, action learning set. And I think that's taken a little bit longer than the 11 months for that to permeate. But you and I know that here we are, 11 months on, and we're now hearing the learning that's going on within those action learning sets. We're creating a learning organisation. We're creating an organisation that values quality, that values individuality and diversity, but in a way that has come from within.
As part of the programme, I've attended the creativity workshops, which was run by Pearlcatchers, and we explored lots of different methods of how you can make yourself be more creative in the workplace and encourage creativity in others. Personally, what I've managed to do from that is to use a lot of the methods in my working life, both when I'm managing meetings, delivering sessions and seminars to try and get information out of people in a more creative manner. I've used some of the methods around World Cafe, where you have people working in groups and you get lots of shared ideas coming forward. And after doing the workshop, I also realised that I'm actually a much more creative person than I originally thought I was, and it gave me the confidence to be creative and to do things differently. And it's also enabled me to bring the creativity out in my staff and colleagues as well, and given me good methods for doing that.
I found the Altogether Different programme to be exactly that. It is different to anything that we've ever tried in this organisation before around leadership. Historically, we've utilised things such as square wheels to help our staff understand about organisational change. And I delivered some of that training historically and found that some of our staff really struggled to get the concept of something like square wheels, where the Altogether Different programme is much more creative and innovative and allows staff the real opportunity to get involved in it and feel enthusiastic because it's a different way of doing things.
In Durham, in October 2015, we received 3 outstanding gradings for efficiency. We were the only force to secure that from Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary, when we're not complacent. But I think it's worth just thinking through how we achieved that. And we achieved that by not looking through efficiency through the lens of money, but looking through the efficiency through the lens of people. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that one of the things that HMIC spotted, and I know because they told us, was it feels different here. And it feels different here because Pearlcatchers were part of that, shaking the old, very sometimes straight-jacketed view of policing. So what we've done is, which is what Pearlcatchers said on the tin, they were going to explore difference with us and give us a completely different training experience. And I think that part of other things, of course, it's always a mixture, but there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that that efficiency label of 3 outstandings, which is superb, is partly because we look through the lens of people, not money, and partly because we gave people a completely different diet to think about their own development in a completely different way. I think the fact that we brought in outsiders. So when I think about what made the difference for us, what was the most significant? I mean, it was all important, but the one thing for me was bringing in outsiders, people who we'd not been exposed to before, and people who brought their own quirky view of the world, really, and Because all too often in policing, you think, well, why don't they like us? Why don't they get us? And it's because we don't know what they don't know, and you become complacent when you look at yourself. So I didn't want the training program, the development program, to be delivered by some of our very expert trainers, because it wouldn't have had that freshness, and it wouldn't have had the appeal of this is how we are seen. Because what we're trying to do at the same time was encourage people to see that the public judging us and their confidence in us was a key part of our overall strategy. So in one word, the one difference that Pearlcatchers offered us at the time of starting the programme was otherness. I think that personal relationship with Pearlcatchers was integral to it, as it always is. I mean, if there isn't mutual trust, I was really fed up with the way that we actually procured this. It just seemed to go on for years. It probably didn't, but we have definitely made our procurement processes much slicker since then. I understand that now that people can procure Pearlcatchers on the framework, which of course cuts out all that pain that I went through. But what it did do, that process, it really did distill the best five. And then as a result of that best five, we chose Pearlcatchers. I'm very happy to do that. So did I know about Pearlcatchers before that procurement process? Never heard of them. I thought there were people who dived down in the coral reef and found an oyster on the bed of the Pacific Ocean. So having been acquainted with Pearlcatchers through the procurement process, what we then very quickly did was form a very trusting relationship with them. So it wasn't a relationship that was born of extensive procurement and contracts and, oh, well, I'm sorry, but that wasn't in, or I'm sorry, you'll find that, or you'll have to re-tender for that. There was never any of that in the relationship with Pearlcatchers. It was very, right, how do we make the most out of this? What do we want out of this arrangement? Which of course was an improved organisation, and the staff who were part of it, the people who were part of this programme, feeling that it was theirs. And we quickly reached that position from a very formal process. There's absolutely no doubt that we have got back far more than the money that we've invested. What is that? Well, we've tested it in a number of different ways, and if people were to come to the force, Gary Ridley, my Assistant Chief Officer, would be happy to talk to you about what he feels are the payback is. Our former leadership guru, Hannah Bell, who's now working on her own, would be happy to talk to you if you want to come and talk to me. So in terms of pounds and pence, I think it wouldn't be accurate to extract from our improvement, so what did Pearlcatchers offer? But I'm very happy to describe it as far more than what we actually put in. I think any organisation that's going through significant change, one of the first things to do, especially if they're cost cutting, is they cut training, they cut staff development. We did the opposite. So at a time of our greatest crisis, we invested more in our staff development. And I think the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I mean, just out of the last 9 things that HMIC has looked at, we've had 8 outstandings and 1 good. Well, you know, HMIC is not noted for his generosity. But yeah, I'd be more than happy to suggest to other people that they need to look at Pearlcatchers and sit down and talk to them. Don't just look at what it says on the tin. Our experience was when you actually stopped the car, lifted the bonnet and had a look inside, you learnt a lot more than what it looked like in a distance. So I would always encourage you to speak to people in Pearlcatchers and see what it can offer you. It's good for us. I mean, the implication, of course, Pearlcatchers we find the pearl. I think they're probably the grit in the oyster rather than the pearl. So not only do they catch pearls, but they allow everybody in the organisation to have the grit in the oyster so that they can all manufacture a pearl. Yeah, but I think they are the grit in the oyster. They are the point of difference, where they're the mirror that you can encourage your people to look at, to see themselves accurately, to see themselves for what they are rather than what they believe or would want themselves to be. I think they're brave as well in terms of being able to say to the senior leaders of my organisation, I think you might find reality slightly different to how you've remembered it, and that was really useful. So I suppose creativity, the grit in the oyster, and the courage. My message to people involved in the public sector, and in particular policing, is there has never been a better time to invest in development. And sometimes bringing in people from outside has more resonance for your people. Prophets in their own land are never heard. And so I think that would certainly be something that I think people need to reflect on, now more than ever.
Considering Pearlcatchers were selected through a competitive tender process, through the council's procurement process, I believe that the biggest impact is to do with how practical the training is and how impactful the training is in terms of messages, key messages that can be recalled easily and can be fed into the culture of the workplace. So I think in terms of impact, it's all about simple messages, simple learning that can be recounted easily and quickly. The employees' approach has become more confident in terms of proactively working to resolve customer situations rather than reactively. Also about self-awareness, actually making sure that they're aware of the impact upon that they have themselves on the scenario and on the situation that they're in. And also much more proactive, so proactive in terms of reporting, making sure that difficult experiences that they have worked with, they have actually reported it, so therefore we've got much more management information to use to accommodate changes and other things that are happening within the service. The Pearlcatchers experience from start to finish is a personal experience, and I mean personal not in the me personal, but in the personal service in terms of the council. There is the willingness and the time taken to understand and not just assume that Surrey County Council is the same as another county council, it's the same as another library service. We are unique and are all different, and from that point of view it is a personal and it has a personal aspect to it. There's also a humble and a humourful side to it as well, and I don't know if humourful is a word, but actually that's the only way I can describe it. We can have a laugh together, and in the serious life of councils and industry and private industry, to have a laugh with somebody you're working with is the way you can create great things. We have back in terms of our investment, the anecdotal comments in terms of customers who challenge us from staff who may have been a bit resistant, may not enjoy learning, may not enjoy being part of training. I've said it's some of the best training that they have ever experienced, and that is proof of the pudding. We've also got a fairly cynical service at times, but that cynical service is offset by a service that's been so willing. So we have seen cultural change come as part of this project. Organisations that are looking at Pearlcatchers, I would suggest that what you see is authentic. Okay, there are many organisations out there that do not say what they're going to do on the tin, and my experience of Pearlcatchers is that what they offer to you is what they deliver, and if you require it to become unique to you, then make that investment and make it unique to you.
From the very beginning, I've been really happy with working, particularly with Sharon, but overall with Pearlcatchers as a company. I had my project brief at the beginning, which was to have a fair, transparent, and open process. And we've been able to deliver that completely, as far as I'm concerned, and also the feedback we've got from our assessment teams, our candidates, and our executive leadership team is they've been particularly happy with what's been delivered from Pearlcatchers, and it is completely matched the brief that we had at the start. It's provided a product that the whole organisation are happy with. We are seeing an improvement not only in our candidates going through the process, but in the standard of supervision and leadership we've had from those individuals that have gone through the process and been promoted. We have seen a step up in their performance in the time that they've been promoted and gone through the next stage of their promotion process at step 4, particularly around their style of leadership, around the coaching style. We're already reaping benefits from that, in as much as it's not only improved our promotion process, but also in the supervision level that we're seeing from those candidates that have gone through the process. So overall, it's exceeded our expectations around what we've seen from the process. So we're more than happy with what we've had from Pearlcatchers. But the main thing for me was to ensure that it was very focused on what were the challenges for a sergeant or inspector in Wiltshire Police, rather than a generic for police officers per se. So we spoke with Sharon at Pearlcatchers, and she came down and worked with a number of focus groups and workshops of current sergeants and inspectors, and also our superintendents, for identifying what we would expect from our top supervisors. So those that stood out as particularly good from experience levels, and also from those that were obviously the talented individuals. And we engaged with them, brought those into focus groups at headquarters, and let them explain what they saw in their peers or in anybody else from a DMT level that they thought were the best behaviours, so that we made sure that we incorporated those behaviours into the assessment process, but also identified the particular challenges for supervisors working on a day-to-day basis within our policing model. I found Pearlcatchers to be particularly engaging and helpful throughout all the work we've done with them over the last few years, and with everything that we've been given as briefs for projects. The whole of the Pearlcatchers team have been really helpful with helping us develop those briefs to the point where we have a product to deliver. I have been more than happy with everything the team have delivered to us, and I would certainly look to involve Pearlcatchers in any future processes we have, particularly around the friendly and engaging style that both Sharon and the rest of the team have, and the helpful nature they've got, but also the content that they can provide for us. It's not a superficial level, it is a very deep level of learning that they can give to everybody. But they also make sure that the product's right for us, and it's not just a generic product. It is a bespoke product for us as an organisation that matches the brief that we've been given, which could be different on every occasion. And they've adapted everything they've got to fit with us as an organisation completely. I would really encourage anybody who's looking at anything to do with their learning offers, particularly around leadership, coaching, to speak with Pearlcatchers and to find out what they've got to offer. and then to engage with them to make sure that the product that you get is right for your organisation.